Welcome to the Porn Reboot podcast, where you get practical tips to gaining control over your porn or sex addiction. We help ambitious men end their out-of-control sexual behavior with pornography, sex, and masturbation so that you can maximize your life, perform at your potential, and remain in control in the driver's seat, which is where you have to be in order to gain or maintain the success you want in life. I'm your host, J.K. Emezi, certified sex and porn addiction recovery coach. Welcome to the episode.
Welcome, brother. Today we begin a series on mindfulness and the different stages of your reboot. As some of you may be aware, mindfulness is a significant part of the porn reboot system. Mindfulness is what allows you to change your past conditioning. It is what helps you recognize the other options you have. So when you have an urge, when you feel like pornography or masturbation is the only thing that can help you change your states, mindfulness is the thing that allows you to know that you can choose another path. Mindfulness also allows you to choose your responses carefully, to slow down and to be aware. So in summary, mindfulness allows you to step back and observe your mind's own state. In the porn reboot system, there are different levels of rebooting. The first is the early stage of your reboot. The next is the middle. Then we have the late and the maintenance stage. And my goal is to ensure that every single man who is listening to this podcast gets to the maintenance stage of his reboot. Whether you speak to me or our coaches directly or not, I want you to be able to do this. We're going to begin with mindfulness and the early to middle stage of your reboot and what your reboot will look like when you have that deep self-awareness and mindfulness in your life. Now, in the early stages of your reboots, typically you are getting triggered on an almost daily basis. In fact, you may not be aware of why you're getting triggered. Your partner, your wife, your girlfriend, or even a stranger could say something that pushes your buttons, and that makes you angry or annoyed. You're a high performer. You're an individual who prioritizes success. And any time that you easily get triggered, it makes you less effective. It makes you a slave to your emotions. Most of the time, you get triggered, you end up being in a bad mood, and you're unaware of it. You are less effective throughout the day. Without mindfulness, we react emotionally instead of rationally and with intention. And brother, if you prioritize success, your financial success, success of your business, success of your family, that includes the success of your children, successfully raising good kids, maintaining a strong marriage, being a leader and working on your mission, you have to be rational and logical. Every moment of the day has to have intent. You do not have the luxury of being what I call a civilian and having your mind wander off. Why? Because for you, unlike regular men, the moment your mind wanders off, it is a ticking time bomb. It is a countdown to some sort of behavior that is going to throw the rest of your day off. You know exactly what I'm talking about. You could have started your day with great intention, and then at some point, it could be at any point, it could be your coffee didn't turn out right. It could be you can't find the keys to your car. It could be that one of the kids started acting up at breakfast and your intention is gone. You're immediately triggered, you're emotional, and you don't even realize that your mind is running at 100 miles an hour because you're so used to being in that state. Your day's a wrap. Your only breaks are acting out behavior. Your only break is to get on Instagram, to get on Reddit, to find a porn site, to find something that's going to stimulate you in order to slow down your mind. but you don't even know any of this. With mindfulness, in your early reboots, you are more calm, you are not so reactive or distracted. You find yourself being more attentive to your feelings. You become aware of the potential consequences of your actions. I'll say it again. You are more attentive to your feelings. One of the first exercises within our system is called a feelings exercise. Interestingly, every single man, every single high performer in the early stage of his reboot does not see the need for a feelings exercise. Many men in their early stages just feel like it's a waste of time. Well, why am I identifying my feelings? I can't identify any feelings. What's the point? I'm supposed to just wake up and go and just crush it. There's no time for checking in on my feelings. And sometimes you've been socialized to believe that being in touch with your feelings is feminine. Brother, not being in touch with your feelings is what has led to you being stuck in this cycle. It is what has led to you not being able to progress from one stage of your reboot to the next. Some of you, I understand, you prefer to work with a therapist or psychiatrist. You prefer to work with somebody who has alphabets in front of and behind their name. There is nothing wrong with that. However, if you're meeting with this person once a week, and that's the only time that you are raising some awareness of your emotions, most of the time, you're spending the first quarter of the session bullshitting the therapist, trying to run away from it, preparing to be vulnerable if you're even getting to that point. That's the only time that you're being attentive to your feelings. As a rebooter, you have to build the habit of being attentive to your feelings every single day, because you are at risk for relapse every single day. Many of us are shocked, and you probably are shocked when you're just like, I slipped again. I relapsed again. I mean, I knew of the consequences, but why did I still do it? Even while you were preparing to view pornography and masturbate, you knew what the consequences were. While you knew what the consequences were, brother, you were not aware. What is awareness? Awareness is the ability to focus on the relationship of actions to each other. Attention, on the other hand, is analyzing an object and interpreting it. We need awareness. Why? Because when you do not have awareness, when you get triggered, when you view pornography, you do not know what the consequences are. You need to be able to have your mind remind you that when you engage in this, you are going to feel lethargic, you are going to feel guilt, you are going to experience shame. Your day is going to be over. Understand this, JK. Let's say if I was doing it to myself, my mind would tell me, JK, yeah, you want to act out. But if you do this, understand that this energy you feel right now, this clarity that is right beneath these strong emotions of arousal will be gone. You will be a zombie for the next 2 days. And you will open up your mind to all sorts of negativity, which will probably take you weeks or even months to overcome. Awareness is what does that for you. Simply knowing that, I'm going to regret it is not awareness. And you develop that awareness via mindfulness. And because of that, you are able to regulate your behaviors in positive ways. What do I mean by positive ways? So instead of distracting yourself, instead of setting a stronger boundary, there's nothing wrong with that. Those are not negative, by the way. You're able to do something like sit down and actually dialogue. That is a positive and productive way to deal with an urge, as opposed to distracting yourself. Many people just distract themselves because they do not have the depth of awareness. When you are deeply aware from mindfulness, you know that distracting yourself only puts the urge off till another day. but choosing to sit there and deal with it, have a conversation, understand why this is coming up, understanding why you were triggered. That is what prevents it from happening again in the future. So that's the meaning of regulating your behavior in a positive way. When you are mindful in the early stages of your reboot, you also gain awareness of one very important thing. That is the suffering that you experience in most aspects of your life is more related to your emotional reactions than to the thing that triggered them. This means that in order for you to move on to the middle stage of your reboot, you have to understand that it isn't pornography or nudity or what women are wearing at the gym. It's not that which is triggering you. It is your emotional reaction to it. Does this make sense? Because when you realize this, you begin to see that boundaries are just deterrents. Oh, like I have to have covenant eyes. I have to have this on my thing. I have to change my phone out. I have to put my phone in a lockbox. This is very early stage behavior. And yes, it can still be seen in men who are in the late stage of their reboots who haven't worked on that. They've made a lot of progress, but they're still working on understanding and taking responsibility for their emotional reactions. This is one of the greatest things that you will gain from mindfulness in the early stage of your reboot. Finally, to enter into the middle stage of your reboot, and we're just talking about the mindfulness aspect of this, you have to mindfully acknowledge all your emotions that cause you to be reactive and specifically that cause you to use pornography, and you have to take responsibility for your reactions. As you enter into the middle reboot, you will begin to recognize all the other options that you have, and you will start choosing in a wiser way. You will choose better responses, and as you enter into the middle reboot, you will begin to see proof that you can control your behavior. This is an important aspect of the program. So many people give up in the early stage of their reboot because their expectation, your expectation, might be that you need to have control right now. That's not how it works. There is a process to this. As I conclude, I just want to say that the reason I'm using mindfulness to explain the way you progress through the different stages of your reboot is because I feel it's a lot less technical than the traditional way that we've explained it within the porn reboot system. And I know there are many of you who are really hungry to become more mindful. I know there are many of you who are engaging in contemplation exercises, meditation, prayer. There are many of you who are deeply religious and sometimes have that ability to really slow things down and become introspective, or at the very least, you want to become introspective. So I really hope that as I go through this series, it will help you identify not only where you are in your reboot in terms of the stages, but also the depth of awareness and how exactly it's going to propel you to the next stage. So the depth of awareness necessary to propel you to the next stage of your reboot.
I'm JK, your brother in this struggle. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Porn Reboot podcast. I'll speak to you later on in the week. If you found this episode helpful, here are 4 ways I can help you with your out-of-control sexual behavior for free. The first way is to grab a free copy of my book, Confessions of a Porn Addict, 7 Secrets of Porn-Free Men at elevatedrecovery.org, or visit the link in the description below this episode. The second way is, if you're not sure where to start, but you'd like to learn more about my team and I, if you'd like to spend time with like-minded professionals and business owners who are controlling their behavior, then join our free and confidential group, the Porn Reboot group on Facebook. There's a link to join in the description below this episode. The third way is if you need help right now because you have a burning issue, your behavior with pornography is hurting you mentally or emotionally, you're about to lose your relationship, you want to live up to your potential, be an authentic man, and free yourself from shame, guilt, and underachieving, then click on the link in the description below this episode that says free coaching call. And the fourth way is to leave us a 5-star review if you enjoy this podcast, so that we can reach more men who are struggling in silence and bring back the lessons we learn from coaching them to freedom.